Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Soul Inspired Leaders Facebook group. And we are going live today with the Akashic Soul Wisdom Show, where I'm interviewing the wonderful Mary Nonde, and we are going to be talking all about the art and science of living consciously. So we have some new members in the group this week again. So welcome everybody who's here. And those of you that don't know me, I'm Natasha Harris, and I support conscious business owners to really discover their soul power and to take their next level of leadership and impact in the world, to really raise consciousness around the world, which is really what we need right now. So this is where Mary and I were talking a few weeks ago about Feng Shui and how we can really bring in this element of Feng Shui into living much more consciously. So welcome, Mary. Thank you for joining me here today. And yeah, so do you want to introduce yourself, actually, Mary, and tell us just briefly a little bit about you?
Okay, so I've been a Feng Shui consultant for the last 24 years. So I've added other strings to my bow since I first left corporate life and retrained in Feng Shui. But essentially, Feng Shui is at the core of what I do. And I also facilitate people to create intuitive vision boards, Natasha. It's a particular way of creating a vision board that doesn't use the cognition, but uses the intuition, which would be right up your street, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the sound of that. So that's something you do with your clients?
Yes, that's right. So it would be something like looking at what, through the intuitive vision board process, what wants to emerge for a client, and then using the Feng Shui to create the right environment to bring that through. Do you see? So, or it could be that somebody wants to sort out their space first, make a bit of room, and then look at what possibilities there are in terms of the vision. So it can work either way.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Sounds fascinating. So I can see that a few people are joining us live. So give us a wave, give us a like, just type in the comment box and let us know you can actually hear us. And if you're watching the replay, please type #replay and do ask questions throughout today. Mary, I'm sure we'll love to answer some questions that come through, whether this is live or you're watching on the replay. So Mary, I'm really fascinated to know a little bit more about how you got into this area of Feng Shui. You've been doing it for an awfully long time, probably wasn't very well known all those years ago. And yeah, I mean, like when I was doing Reiki 10-15 years ago, it was a little bit woo, a little bit off center. So I can imagine that it wasn't really something people knew an awful lot about 4 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, I came out of I was looking for a way to transition from being a corporate girl, and I went along to a lecture on Feng Shui, and I sat in the audience hearing what it was. Denise Lin.
Oh yes,
some of you might know Denise. I
work.
trained with Denise Lin, and she was in Seattle at the time. And I listened, and I thought, I do this a lot. And so through my work, the corporate work, I had to travel quite a bit. I would be in strange hotel rooms, and I'd automatically start moving the furniture around. You know, if I didn't like it, I mean, it was a nightmare, you know. But if it didn't feel right, I would have a real kind of wobbly about being in a room. And I just thought that everybody did that, really. But when I sat in the audience and heard about Feng Shui, I thought, maybe this is something I should train in. And so that's what I did. And I too then layered in Reiki a few years later, you, became a Reiki master. And then I went back and did the psychotherapeutic training, somatic art psychotherapy, years later. And the vision board is based on that somatic artwork. Yeah, so that's how I came to it. Now I can formally move furniture around if I don't like where it is.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. I can just imagine people, coming in to clean the rooms or to look at the rooms afterwards and going, what's happened here? The room's completely different. But it is so true, isn't it? We go into somebody else's space energetically, and if we're going to sleep there and we're going to be, spending some time there, we want it to feel right so that we can really, I guess, enjoy the space so much more if we're going to be spending time there.
Yeah, it is that. And Feng Shui, that's where it really comes into its own. It's looking at the way the environment that you spend a lot of time in. And as you said, it could be, for many of us now, it's the working environment, isn't it? The working environment at home, or the bedroom, or the kitchen diner, where we spend a lot of time. Those environments are more important than some of the other rooms because they will be having a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual effect on us. So the role of the feng shui is to look at the effect that they're having and whether that's what you want to experience or whether it's running contrary. And so as a consultant, I'm asking for, well, what's happening in your life right now? And it may be that they're reporting some physical condition or something that's not working quite right, or a problem with a neighbor, or career change that happens too
Yeah.
frequently. So that's what gives me the starting point for a consultation.
Yeah, because it's so important, isn't it, that what we're actually bringing into the space energetically, emotionally, mentally,
Yeah.
all contributes to that. And I guess the space is actually just a reflection of what's going on internally as well. So it gives us real clues around what people are experiencing.
It's sort of exactly, it's like an outer projection of what's going
Mm,
on inside. So in the way that we arrange the space around us, so this is where looking at where furniture is placed and the colors that we might have around us and the kind of accessories we might use, or the way we use lighting, all this is impacting how we feel about being in a space. So I
yeah.
think it was Churchill who said once, we create our buildings and thereafter they create us, or they fabricate us. You get that
Ooh,
sense, once at the beginning we were consciously creating the environment, and then we got a bit lazy and distracted by life, and it's almost like sometimes I feel the environment gets left stuck in time and you're trying to move on and you're working against yourself.
yeah.
And so we need to bring that conscious awareness to how the tracks that we leave through the how we're living in the space.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? I often talk about having conscious awareness, and it's like this is what we don't even know what we're not conscious of, do we? Until we learn something, it's like, oh yes, we're quite conscious, but then when we actually, are kind of, exploring something from a different perspective, we suddenly become really highly conscious and go, oh right, okay, this might be going on, and that gives us the exploration and the possibility of changing it so that we can bring these things energetically more in alignment. So, oh, fascinating stuff. Fascinating. I'm just thinking, oh, around my room, like what can I shift and what's a reflection of me? And yeah, so you've got a few tips, haven't you, around all this that people can really benefit
Yeah.
from today in a very short space of time that we have to talk together.
Yes, I thought so. I mean, I thought it would be nice to zone in on the working from home space, because I
Yeah.
think one way or the other, people are studying from home or working from home, or we're spending more time at home. And it's interesting because where I'm working right now, I'm in a friend's home and I'm visiting her, and she's kindly given me a space in the room, but it's not good feng shui. Bless her. It's not, I'm not about to start moving her furniture around, but it's not. So I thought it would be quite fun for me to show you why it's not good feng shui, because I think it will resonate with quite a lot of people.
Yes.
So does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. I'm really interested. If anyone's got any questions as we're talking, then please post them in the comments. We will come to them as we can, but we'd love to hear your comments and thoughts as Mary talks us through this. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the first tip, and it's nothing to do, this space is grand in terms of this tip, but is to take care of your trash. So wherever you're working, you want to come to a clean and neutral space every day. You do not want the remains of yesterday or the remains of someone who used the desk or the table before you. It needs to be clear and fresh, and the rubbish bin. And then I think that extends to computer files and hard paper files that you have around you, because what I have seen quite a lot is where people have used perhaps their table at home to do their admin work, and now they come along and they superimpose work on top of just running the home from that space, and it all gets in it all clutters up. So we say in Feng Shui that it's the wood element, the paper is consuming quite a lot of chi there. So you just want to start by, let's have a look at your space there then, Natasha.
Oh, I don't know how we can show my
No,
space.
what's your desk like in front of you, would you say?
Right. So as you were talking, I was kind of looking down and thinking, it kind of looks like it might be tidy. But my actual desk around me, I've got lots of different papers. I love a post-it note, so I've got like lots of post-it notes around that are just, and I've got even like, you talk trash, and I'm like, I've got like post-it notes that I need to throw away in the bin.
Yeah.
Put on my desk. Got my, yeah. So I've got, yeah, it could definitely be a little bit cleaner. And a bit organized. I am relatively organized. I actually have to say that I do like, at the end of the day when I've finished, is to put things into neat piles.
Right.
So I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, it's sort of saying full stop on today, and I'm coming in tomorrow to a place that's not still in process, you know.
Yeah.
If you want to make change or to be creative, you've got to make space for it, because otherwise it can't happen in the same way. So anyway, trash, that's my top tip. The next thing is what I'm doing here, where I'm sitting, is so classic. If you go on Pinterest to get inspiration for how to set up your desk from home, you'll find this setup. And I'm sat at a desk, and right in front of me is a wall. And actually, in this case, it's even worse than a wall. I've got a wall on one side, and I've got a recessed window on the other. So I've got a split view ahead of me. So what's that? That's imbalance. But what it means when your desk is facing into a wall is all that creative and generative outpouring is flowing out of you and banging into the wall. And, you know, because it's energy, we give off energy when we're thinking and creating. So it is more challenging. We do stick the desk up against the wall and we think it's nice and tidy, but what we need to do is to be on the other side of it. So in an ideal world, I would be on the other side of the desk, and I'd have that nice solid wall behind me, and I would be looking out over the room towards, so I could see that door that's open behind me. Sometimes, yeah, my friend comes creeping in, and I'm working away on the PC, and I don't hear her. And I suddenly realize there's somebody in the room, and I jump out of my skin. So that's another good reason for not positioning yourself in an office or at home in a way that you don't know what's going on behind you.
That's a really important.
I do have a little mirror here that I have on the, oh, you can't show you.
Oh yes, there, yes.
Yeah. I have that up on the window ledge there. So actually, I can just glance up and quickly see that she's coming into the room. So it doesn't such a shock, because I jump out of my skin.
Yeah. And I guess you get a sense for the wider space that's around you as well in that.
Yes.
You know, that if you occasionally look up and you can sense that there's more behind you than meets the eye, rather than just being contained with a wall in front of you and just no real idea what's behind you, and
Mm.
in that sense.
Totally. It's called, I think it was a war term, but having a commanding view of your space. So
Yeah.
as I've suggested, you position your desk, you'd also position your bed in the same way, because you've got that space in front of you. Yeah. And along with it, as you can see the door, I purposely left the door ajar.
Yeah, it's
And
just over your left shoulder, I think, as in the view on the,
yeah, I took that shoulder, isn't
yeah,
it?
the other shoulder.
So that vertical line of the door there is sending what we call cutting chi. So you don't want to have that harsh edge coming along and stabbing you in the back. And if you see on my left shoulder side again, there's a desk there, and that's got a sharp edge to it. So it's just sort of being mindful of the edges around you, and only where you're sitting for any period of time will you
Yeah.
begin to notice that. So sitting in this room, I shut the door. And if I
Yeah.
shut the door in this room, you'd see another problem, which I'm camouflaging a bit. And that's all the coats behind the door.
Ah,
Ah, so a lot of people have things hanging behind the door, boxes on the floor. And in an ideal world, particularly in the room you're working in, you want that door to open with a nice big sweep. So you've got the maximum amount of chi coming into the space. You've got them.
oh, so I'm not sure what happened there. I think maybe we went offline for a second. Don't know. Anyway, hopefully we're still online. Just somebody let me know you can still hear me. Just going to check we haven't disappeared, that we're still live. Yeah, I think yes, we are. So that's cool. But I have a door just to my right. But as I'm on a slight angle, very often I can see out into the hallway, which is I quite like. But I do have my door sometimes ajar, and actually it is right through me.
Yes.
So that's really interesting
It's
and
quite,
just simple. Yeah,
you
say
would
that again.
feel
Sorry,
that,
Mary.
you would, because you're sensitive, you would feel that sort of, it's quite a strong position to be in. You want to be a bit more
Yeah.
recessed into the room,
Yeah.
in an ideal way.
Wow, that's so fascinating, isn't it? It's just sometimes, isn't it, just the little tweaks of things. Obviously, we can
Yes.
look at a room on a much bigger, wider scale, but just having these few things that make so much sense and seem pretty obvious actually when you say them, but how often we never really consciously think about them to actually change that for ourselves. So I just wonder if anyone's got any questions who's watching. I can see a couple of people are watching. If they've got any questions around something in their space, whether they're not sure whether that's is Feng Shui or not. So it'd be really interesting to see if anyone's got any questions around that. But yeah, Mary, that's so fascinating. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, so for example, I'm in a room that's also a spare bedroom,
Yeah,
and that would be typical of probably people working from home.
yeah.
And I've got a single bed on to the right of me, and I've got a trunk to the left of me. So I feel like I'm in a dead end. So it's I point this out because in the old days there was that thing called a carriage return, wasn't there, on a desk? So you'd have your desk and you'd have a strip going alongside. So I would say avoid that. It's a bit. This is what's been created here, but it's I'm hemmed in, and it
Oh,
feels
excuse
like,
me.
bless you. It's an imbalanced shape, so don't be tempted to do that. It's better to have a separate sort of table for the overflow, or in the case where I have this single bed next to me, I've camouflaged it in a way so it doesn't look like a single bed.
Right.
And I'm using that a little bit like a
Yeah.
carriage return. Yeah, but
Yeah.
because otherwise I am literally in a tube here, and it does feel a little hemmed in, particularly if the light, that would bring me on to another perhaps some final point, to watch the lighting levels around where you're working. You want quite a yang as opposed to a yin environment. And I've got 3 lights on, as well as the central light, because I'm in a cottage, and the sun doesn't get here till later in the afternoon. So it's a bit like being in a cave, which of course is not what you want if you're trying to be active, busy person. So that's how lighting can help to address that imbalance.
Yeah, I feel so important that I have a nice, quite big window, and in the afternoon, the sun sort of comes around, and it fills the room with warmth. I mean, today it's raining and it's a bit grey out there. So, but yeah, the lighting for me is actually a really important element. So yeah, that's a really another very good point around that, to making sure that, you know, the lighting feels like it's aligned to what we're trying to create.
Doesn't give you pockets of light. You don't want in the space that you're working in. You want quite an even distribution of light throughout the day, particularly in the winter months. You know.
Yeah, especially in the winter months, which we're fastly and rapidly moving into. Wow, that's so fascinating. I'm going to really think about my desk and my space, and, you know, the space that's next to me, which is a little bit of my dumping ground for things. And yeah, just to keep things a little bit more ordered, and think about that door. That's really interesting. I've never really thought about that. And having that really sort of half open. And opening it more fully. So, I mean, goodness me, we've been chatting, but is there one kind of other final imparting thought or piece of wisdom that you wish to share with the community around all of this? I mean, it is fascinating. I just think it's such an important element for us to really, you know, think about on a different level. But is there some, like, one piece of, like, one top advice that you would give to people and say, you know, if you don't do anything else, do this, perhaps?
I would say, of the few things I've shared this afternoon, as you've picked out the door, if everybody's got one thing they heard that they thought, oh, I could do something with that, I would say just do it. So it's like, as soon as we're off this show, just go and do it, and just notice, take stock of what it was like before, and then see what it's like after. It can make such a big difference. And so that would be my tip. With what I love about Feng Shui is it's immediate, it's very practical. You're working with energy, but in a very practical way, and the results can be immediate. You feel the shift immediately. So that would be my tip.
Yeah, no, that is brilliant. And that's just really reminded me about where we started with this conversation about the intuitive vision boards, and really, you know, trusting that intuitive part. If there's something that doesn't feel right and something you're drawn to change, then really to trust that and to go with that. Yeah, it's a big part of the work that I do as well. So thank you for that real reminder. Like, come back to what's really doesn't feel quite right. Have a look around your room, I guess, and just say, what kind of couple of little changes or change do I want to make to it? So that's really, really helpful.
You know,
Thank
because
you.
the head can talk us out of it, can't it? Like, just got to finish off this document, or so, and then we override the gentle voice of the intuition. So I say that would be a really good tip. Just do it anyway.
Brilliant reminder. Thank you for that, because we can just say, oh, I'll do it later, and then it's one of those things that we never do. And we, you know, I'm guilty of that, and I'm sure everybody watching is guilty of that as well. So I think Facebook is playing up a little bit. So a couple of people have said, so sorry about that. We will post the recording, and I can download it from here and post it if it hasn't worked properly through Facebook. But yes, so thank you. And you also want to share your top 10 tips, don't you? So tell us a little bit about that and where people can find that.
So I have a piece called "I Love Working from Home with My Top 10 Tips," and I spell them out at length and included our 2 or 3 that we talked about today. So if you just send me your, well, you can contact me at marynonday.com/contact, and say top tips, and I'll whiz them over to you.
Brilliant.
Or you can just put it in the comment box, isn't that right? And
Yes. Yeah. And then you can send them via Facebook Messenger.
yeah, I'll send them by Facebook messengers. So yeah, that's they're worth having. They're worth having. There's quite a lot in there. But if you pick out, again, if you just find 2 or 3 that resonate with you, you'll find that will make an enormous difference to where you're working.
Yeah, that's great. So Mary will put the link to her website there. And also, Mary, if people are interested in knowing a bit more about you and how you work, then how can they find you as well, other than your website? But what's the process there?
Yeah, on the website. But if anybody wants to work with me in terms of a consultation, again, just drop me a note. I think the best thing is to use the marynonday.com/contact, and I can send a booking link. Or if somebody wants to just have a chat on the phone, maybe you've got something in mind but you're not quite sure if it lends itself to Feng Shui or something else, again, use that link and we can have a chat.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so a few ways to get hold of Mary there and just find out and explore a little bit of more of the Feng Shui. As I said, if anyone is watching the replay or has any questions, please post them here. Mary and I will keep an eye on the chat. Just make sure you tag us and we will come back and answer your questions for you. Wow, this has been a fascinating conversation. There are already 2 things that I have got to go away and work with. So I'm hoping that everyone that's listening has also got something something that they want to change and shift in their experience as well. So thank you, Mary, for coming and sharing your expertise with us. And as Mary said, if you are interested in talking about Feng Shui, then and finding out a little bit more how it can help you and support you, not only in your office space / workspace / home space, but in your whole home, then do reach out to Mary and get in touch with her via the links we will pop into the chat. So thanks again, Mary. Lovely to have you. And we'll be in touch for sure. And see you all next week here again, every Wednesdays at 4 p.m. In the Seoul UK time here in the group for my live show. See you then. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.